Okay, good evening. Welcome to Community and Technology, where we connect the global community with news, information, and resources to hopefully help improve your life. I'm Stu Reid. I'm here with my dynamic co-hosts and experts on UBI, Miss Diana Blackwell, noted activist and public housing leader in Central Harlem, and Mr. Enno Schmidt, internationally renowned expert on UBI. Both these two folks have been on our show for over a year now, every month talking about UBI, unconditional basic income, and it's come more and more to the forefront of conversation across the country, across the globe, especially given the pandemic and its debilitating effects on folks' ability to put food on the table and take care of basic necessities. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we're talking today, even though some folks may be saying this program a little bit later. Today is Wednesday, January 6th, and we have just witnessed an armed insurrection in Washington, where Trump rioters have stormed the Capitol building, damaged property. One woman's been shot. I think several police officers have been shot, and we don't know the total extent of the damage. It looks like it's finally getting under control. They had to lock down the senators and House members that were in the building at the time working on counting the electoral college votes to certify the election. And that's presumably what these rioters were trying to prevent. So that's just the context of our conversation today. Just wanted to put that out there because it's so much on our minds. And in my mind, so much of what this departing president has done over the last 4 years has really debilitated so many families in this country to the point where, again, we're talking about UBI, unconditional basic income, as a real necessity going forward. Just want to get you guys a take on today and whether or not that has any impact on UBI, and just put it in context.
Well, I like to just say that I believe the conversation is now put on hold. It has been growing. That conversation has been growing. But with this incident, everything that would make anybody that would make a decision can't do anything right now. They're going to have to go into the healing of the nation before they can move forward on EUBI. Mm-hmm. And that's my opinion of it.
And on the other hand, there's a lack of vision. So there is no real vision. It's also no vision with Biden. And an unconditional universal basic income could be a vision for society, for everybody in the United States. It touches everybody. It gives questions. It gives new perspectives of life. It enables new biographies. And so even if it looks like that the problems are so strong and so burning currently, on the other hand, I think we should not forget that there's a lack of vision, there's a lack of future, there is a lack of spirituality and ideas. And all the catastrophes force us to just look, how can we deal with that emergency in front of our nose? But we need to look a little bit further. And I think one reason why Donald Trump got so much supporters is that there is, in a way, no hope, that there is, people become very narrow. People need to identify with a nationalistic USA and all that stuff. So I think this is not without reasons. This is not without past and the development that narrows the mind of the people and that created so much suffering in the United States and poverty. And so that people become radical is a follow-up result. And an unconditional basic income, if you think about it, you feel it and see it become aware immediately what that means, how many old understandings and old correct meanings are shaped with it and can be overcome, and that we can do a step in the future. So I said that sometime, I think, and I think the United States is in a situation like Europe in the 17th and 18th century, when the people moved to the United States, to America, for freedom. And now you have situations, the society is so strictly structured. It's no longer true that everybody can become free and can strive for happiness and all that stuff, what is written in the Constitution. And you have to renew the United States of America in the way of values, in the way of humanity, and take it serious, not just talking about it. So I think, even if it looks a bit curious when I say unconditional basic income is so important at this situation, and becomes even more important, I know people can say, no, we have much stronger needs and stronger problems. But don't forget that we need to go forward. We need to give a future. And unconditional basic income, universal basic income, is a huge, a big idea. It's the same idea like democracy. It's the same idea like human rights. And you know, the value and to claim to be top of the nations needs for the United States in particular to go a step forward in the future. And universal basic income is that step in our times. It is as difficult as the implementation of democracy has been, the abolishing of slavery has been. It is the same thing, but in our times. So, and because of that, I think everybody knows that the problems are so huge with the COVID-19 and all that, and that the society is falling apart. It becomes more radical everywhere, not only in the United States. But this is because of no future, no vision, no real targeted on human being progress.
I certainly agree with you, and I think I say, Diana, to your point about how we need healing right now, I think UBI is a way to implement that healing. I was struck by a quote, and I want to get you guys' reaction of the story in Bloomberg about the 30 or so cities that are now experimenting with UBI, more coming online, joining a coalition that was started by Mayor Tubbs out from Stockton, California, where he initiated a UBI 2-3 years ago. But one of the quotes from the story is, "Cash is the currency of urgency." People need money right now, and that just struck me. And I've been talking with one of my associates who well, Dan, my partner, business partner, Doug, who has been saying, if all of a sudden, if Trump had, or if Biden now were to institute $2,000 a month for everyone, that so much of the tension would just evaporate. It would just chill people out. To Enno's point about how folks just need breathing room, and if that were to happen, I think a whole lot of stuff would all of a sudden get a lot easier.
I think absolutely that's true. And why not trust the people? Why not trust the people? They can deal with it. Everybody knows the best how he or she is leading her or his life and how to use the money. And it's not the question of inflation and that this is so much money. When there is an unconditional basic income, then the basic income is unconditional. That means the basic income, the amount of the basic income, is no longer included in all the other incomes. Of course not, because you have the basic income unconditional. It is not the change to floating money in society, and then everything is going away and we have inflation and something like that. It is to change The basic income for everybody in an unconditional basic income is the same high for everybody, whether you are rich or poor. It has nothing to do with poor or rich. It has to do with every human being in the society gets the basic income unconditional. And that would create much more cohesion. That would allow much more creativity, much more solutions for all the problems. Not because the money is a solution, money is just money, it's nothing. But people are enabled and encouraged to solve the problems and to go ahead and to be more involved in politics, to be more involved in social activities, to create a new understanding of economy, that it is not just egoism and profit. It is to do things for others. That's what economy is in truth. But there's an ideology, and that's very strong, and that destroys the society. If everything is a fight against each other, then you have no real society. Yeah. And the goodwill of the people, and I know the people are so good-willing. Most of the people are good-willing. They want to do good things for the other, for the neighbors. And this is enabled with a different idea of economy than this ideology, which is such a theory, In truth, in real, people are working for each other. They find meaning and sense in the work because they know this is important for others. This is what I'm interested in, and so on and so on. An unconditional basic income is just giving this free. It gives the people their lives in their hands, and their life is their work. There's no difference between work or even labor and life, because this is your lifetime. Well, that's why I'm arguing for an unconditional basic income globally, and always again, in particular in the United States of America, because you claim a leading position in the world, and you do that by military forces, diplomatic strategies, and so on. You are doing that. That is based on the Constitution. It's based because there is democracy, there are human rights, there are values. That's a basis. But you have to renew it. That is why I take the USA so serious, because they have this role in the world, and they have to renew it from inside, not from just being strong by weapons or something like that. And therefore, sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I think now that you're saying that, I think my thought pattern was, okay, the government is going to play the bigger role in distributing it. But as you're reminding me through your conversational piece, it's really neighbor to neighbor, but where do we get this money from? And I think that's where we need to, take it. Let's take it out of the government's hand. Who's going to help provide it?
Yeah, this is a question. And I think that is what we discuss in Harlem. So there's what we started, that we talked about so long about launching a pilot project, and we come closer to that. And now we have that contact to Albert Wenger, and that he makes already a pilot project in Hudson, and he is planning to continue and enlarge it by community currencies. And community currency could be a first step in Harlem too. So to create a parallel currency, which is not US dollar, which is compared to it, which can be dealt with in Harlem, and we can plan and we can construct something, and that is just the beginning, But if Andrew Yang becomes mayor of New York City, for example, and that can be, then he will do a big project with community currencies. That's what I heard from people who know a little better what's going on behind the scene. And so I think unconditional basic income is coming. It is, it's the idea of our times. And we should start in Harlem. That's what I think would be great. And, like you said, it's neighborhood. It's all the people. It's not just the king that drops the money on the street. It is the people who are thinking about and who are investing some effort in it to create such an unconditional basic income, first in pilot projects, and then step by step, like it has been in all times. And without the strength of the people, well, then there's there's no unconditional basic income. It has to come uh, from the intentions and also the work of the people.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. It's got to be from the ground up for it to be sustainable. It'll be great if the federal government decided that they were going to really extend themselves and extend, some of the payments like they've done, the recent $600, the proposed $2,000. But we can't count on them to do our work for us, as you just said.
Yeah.
And I think we got to do it from the ground up. Diana, we were just echoing the point that you mentioned, that we can't count on the government financing this for us. We have to be creative and find other ways to do it. I look back at this recent story I referenced earlier in Bloomberg about the 30 mayors of cities that have signed up, and we've talked about this before. I think there are maybe 20 cities. Last time we talked about it last month, and many of them are going to foundations and private sources for the seed capital to make these pilot programs. I'm going to call them pilots because most of them are fairly small, as many as from 500 to 1,500 people in the programs. So that's kind of a drop in the bucket, but the encouraging thing is they're doing it, and it's a prototype, and it's demonstrating the power of UBI. And I know, Diana, you wanted to talk about something going on in Hudson. I haven't had a chance to look at that story yet, but maybe.
I apologize. It took me a little while to get it to you.
Okay.
But, why don't you do that? Because it was your friend, Mr. Winger, who has been a guest on the program, who helped initiate something in Hudson.
Yeah, I don't know so much about it, but we can have a look in the internet. It's in Hudson. It is 25 people, $500 a month for 5 years, and he's doing that. I guess it's a part is his money, but he's doing that in cooperation with the foundation of Andrew Yang. I think the name is Humanity Forward. So they are cooperating, and they have started with this project already, and they want to enlarge it and to continue in a bigger scale by community currencies. And they are already working together. I didn't know that. I heard that today, with a team for community currency based UBI, which I built up in Freiburg with people from different countries. So we have now a research team, two research teams for community currencies to finance UBI, and one of the team members is already part of that team of Albert. I didn't know that before. So we can combine that and connect that.
We all have talked about this for a while, but for some of our listeners who may be new to the concept, can you just talk a little bit about community currency and what that is?
Well, this is, you can create a currency by yourself. So this has to be backed by US dollar, and you can use it like, for example, miles you get by air companies. You can create something that can be taken for exchange goods and services in a community when the people accept that. It has to be, as I said, backed up by US dollar, but the challenge is to create such a community currency so that it is valuable in a community, but for those people who accept it, to take it, to pay with it, and so on. You can also create it with no backup of the official currency, what is US dollar in the United States. And they are working on such a community currency, a complementary currency, so there are different names of it. And there has been huge successes with such currencies in the past, in Austria, for example, when the deflation brought down everything in Austria, and they created a special currency in one village. And so they could pay workers, they could invest in work, in projects. People have had money to buy stuff and so on. That they have been independent on the huge situation of deflation and unemployment and starvation and so on. And so we can have a look whether we can create such a complementary or community currency or crypto. It can be a cryptocurrency, it can be based on blockchain, to enable people to pay and buy things in a community with this currency. Then we are independent on the US dollar, and then we are independent, of course, of the money from huge donors or the government or whatever, and can create such a neighborhood currency, community currency in a specific region or a specific sector of a city for those who accept that. So this creates warmth, this creates more community feeling and more cohesion. I watched it when we implemented that. I was a little bit part of the project when we did that in Germany in a region. Chiemsee, this is in the very southeast of Germany, where we implemented such a currency. And, then local products are bought by the people, because local farmers, local store owners accept that money. It's not for Amazon, for example. Amazon does not accept it. It strengthens the local economy. It strengthens the local links and cohesion and yeah, so this could be good.
Yeah. So essentially, as I understand you talking about, it's in that example you just talked about, it's an exchange within the community. It's like one step up from bartering. Instead of bartering, you create your own currency and you're able to buy and service each other in your community with this currency that you create. And the only value it need have is that you can use it in your community to buy goods and services.
Yeah, and then you need a lot of details, whether people can change it back to US dollar and all that stuff. So you have to make a plan, you have to construct it. But that basically what you said, that's what it is. And so you become independent. And it's based on trust, but the US dollar is based on trust too. If the people don't believe in it, they don't accept it. That's it.
That's right. Exactly right. Once they stop, it's over if that happened.
Yeah. And it's not bad to consider money parallel to, for example, an unconditional basic income. So to rethink so many things, to rethink how money is created, for example, and that we can do it. So that we can create money. Of course, we can create money to enable people to live their lives. That's the reason why money exists, that we can buy stuff and sell stuff. So money is not, finally, at the end, money is not a good, it's not like gold. So it's just a tool. It is more part of the sphere of rights than of the sphere of economy. It is a right to get something. It's not a good by itself. So there are many misunderstandings of money that makes us think things worth in society, because we deal with money as the highest value, but that's myth. This is magic. So if it has a value of eternity, if it doesn't go down like any other product, then it becomes a level of spiritual mythology. And that is why people believing in money. So these are all old religious feelings. And we deal with money in that way. And this is like 200 years ago when the Catholic Church spread the dogmas in society, and the value of money, how we deal with it, is a dogma. It's not the truth. The truth is that this is a democratic tool. This is created by the society based on the trust of the society, that we can exchange values, and that it gives an order for this exchange, but it's not a value in itself. For example.
Diana, what do you think something like that could work in Harlem? I mean,
well, Polly and I had talked about that. You know why? Because when I met Enno about 2018, seems like forever, we were with a group of people that had actually put this into practice. One of the countries, I think it was Austria, where some of the people who were migrating from other countries had nothing, And when they had nothing, how were they going to get their supplies? So within that little community of immigrants, this system was created. And it was almost a bartering system, but it also was one of alternate currency. And it did work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to ask about what you just said about the Hudson Project. So is that system, in addition to the $500 cash, is that what?
I think that they want to give the money to more people than those who get the $500. I think this will be different people, but I don't know exactly how they plan to do that. That's what I will get out in the next days.
Right, right. Yeah, I kind of understood the plan. I didn't understand that part of it. But I was saying because Hudson has such a lower cost of living, it doesn't really compare to where we live. The New York City and its 5 boroughs and the closer surrounding areas, the cost of living is very high. $500, even though I had talked about $500, wouldn't meet too much of our needs. $500 would only buy a Metro card. That's our subway transportation or public transportation for a month. That's what it does. I'm not sure that will meet it nowadays because the prices have raised. So what would you do with $500 in the city? Not much, but it would help. Anything in addition to what you have will always help. But a new system of bartering or a new currency system would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $500 is good because it is really in addition. So I said that in the beginning, that if there is really an unconditional basic income for everybody, so this is a new situation, and that will mean that this $2,000 or what it is, something like that, all the other incomes will decrease around about this amount. This is a question of negotiation, but around about this will happen in a society, and social security benefits will decrease, and so on and so on, and taxes can decrease because people who are employed at the state get a lower income for labor, for work, and having this unconditional basic income, so having the basic income unconditional. But now by a pilot project, the situation is different. This is really an addition. The $500 are in addition, and it helped in Stockton. And Stockton is for me really a role model. They did it in Stockton, California, by Major Tubbs, and that was great. I think this is only a little bit of money, but it creates consciousness. So the discussion spread to all the officials and all the other mayors. Many things are coming from Stockton. So Michael Tubbs is no longer mayor of Stockton. I don't know. He was not re-elected. But this movement of mayors has to do with that. Yeah. And I think this is what we can do and achieve in our times. Not the huge amount, but what we can achieve is to do something practically, that the step is on the floor. So the feet is on earth, and then we can go further on. Mm-hmm. So by that reason, I think $500 is okay for the beginning.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that you're listening to WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. This is Community and Technology, our monthly UBI show, Unconditional Basic Income, with Diana Blackwell and Enno Schmidt. I'm your host, Stu Reid. Diana, to Enno's point about raising consciousness and how even a small step in that direction can have a big ripple effect. I'm wondering what you think about the possibility or the reality that we know that Andrew Yang may be running for mayor of New York City. And even though that may be a long shot, he's kind of an unknown here in this market. I'm hoping that will happen, and that UBI will be something that he will really be beating the drum about. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think it's a great, I'm glad that he's thinking of getting in the field, because that will bring awareness locally. Mm-hmm. Because how many people received the $1,000 that he gave? And it went no further than those people. They probably just talked about some strange man came and gave me $1,000 and they spent it, and that was the end of it. There wasn't education on UBI. They didn't even try to follow him. I don't even know if most of them even knew he ran for president. But I mean, if he comes and gets into the waters of politics here locally, he will bring awareness. And this is the way, this is when we can start educating people on it more at a bigger scale than what we're doing right now. So I like the idea, and I welcome the idea, because I know that he has great connections, because there are some people who really want to fund one, but they don't know we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he has a chance?
I'm not sure, because he's unknown.
Yeah.
That is so important, because we're almost like a Broadway. New York itself is like a Broadway. What's the top play? They got to know the play. They got to know the players. They got to know the song. And he's unknown. So that's my fear, that him not being known is going to hinder his message.
And can it be that the current mayor will be re-elected?
No, he can't. He's termed out. He can't run.
Okay.
And I think his strongest challengers may be the borough president from Brooklyn, Diana.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Scott Stringer, who one day will be a guest on the show.
He the current controller, who's a well-known name, and the borough president from Brooklyn, who's also been on the political scene for over a decade or longer. So to Diana's point, I think Yang will be severely handicapped, because not just because he's not known, but because he is an outsider, and they're going to use that. His opponents will use that against him. He's not a New Yorker. He didn't grow up here. He doesn't know the local problems. He doesn't know the local scene. Blah blah blah. They're going to beat that horse into the ground. But the flip side is he's coming with a whole new message and talking about economic empowerment in a way that hasn't been talked about locally.
And he has the support from the White House.
Yes, that's right. So I'm kind of agreeing with you, Diana. I think it's a long shot, but I think he could have a very positive effect on the conversation. Yes. And if he's putting it out there saying, this is what I'm going to do, well, hopefully there'll be some copycats. And, some of the other folks, hey, we can do that too. Okay, let's get it on. That's kind of what I'm hoping.
That's what we're hoping.
Yes. Yeah. We're talking about the community currency. And for me, the difficult part with that, Diana, is just the political environment, getting folks to buy into it. That, to me, that's the big hurdle. I'm not sure how we will surmount that, but that would be the challenge.
I had pitched this idea to Polly. I said about a local currency. Mm-hmm. It would probably have to be backed by a major store. Let's just use a Target. Mm-hmm. Partner with a Target and create a currency that is to be used only at Target.
Okay.
This is just
I follow.
This way, they know that you can get your pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. You can get your child wear clothes, appliances, major and small, mm-hmm. from one store. But it would mm-hmm. be, it's almost like they would give us a grant, and we're only going to return the grant through our currency, which is a joint effort between. Mm-hmm. That is my thought. I'm sure, probably has another way, but I was thinking that way they would know where to spend it.
Mm-hmm. And they'll know it's good. They know the currency is good.
Right. And the store gets publicity.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's a win-win.
Have you seen that method tried, Enno?
That what?
That kind of methodology in terms of introducing a community currency.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
And you can have a look. So there is I think this in the state of New York, Ithaca, and they have the Ithaca hours, and they have that community currency since decades, and it's working. And there are other places in the United States where they have such currencies, and we can have a look to that.
Mm-hmm.
It can be constructed different. It can be focused in particular to Harlem, and in particular to the goal to pay unconditional basic income with it. But it's not so unusual. So many communities have that in the United States, in New Zealand there are many, and so on and so on. So it's not
So
so seldom.
you're saying partnerships with major stores could work.
Yeah, major stores, and the stores should look that they can buy their stuff from people who are all also accepting that currency. And so, by the interest of the people, if this is an interesting currency, people are interested to find other people that accept that, because then they can buy the stuff from there too.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, it is spreading.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is interesting, and it's interesting when it's used by people, and when the store owners know, I have to accept that currency because then I earn money. So more than when I don't accept it. And that is the reason why such currencies are spreading and finding more and more people who are accepting it, because it has benefits. And you can make a specific...
Do you like the idea that it would come out from the store, from the merchant as a grant? Let's say I used a Target, which is, I don't know what kind of store, but we have one called Costco and one called BJ's, which has both appliances and food, major food that you buy in bulk.
Absolutely,
If they could give a grant where that meant that that's a tax write-off for them.
Yeah. So they would issue the currency, Diana, under your scheme. The store, Costco, would issue, $500,000 in currency. And
well, I think we'd have to create a currency with them that it would be acceptable, that they can train their tellers to, if anyone gives you this, it has our seal on it.
Okay.
And they're redeeming it at that store for the product.
Mm-hmm.
So if we give someone $500 worth of BJ's, Costco, currency, they go to the store, they decide, well, I need toilet paper. So they buy a 36 roll, I don't know, 40, 50 roll of toilet paper. They take their Costco currency, turn it in. And what happens is Costco actually redeemed, well, they've taken the redemption and then they write it off because it's, they donated it to us.
Mm-hmm.
They get a tax break.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Well, it's a thought.
Yeah. So there are different opportunities. I think we should have a look how Albert Wenger is creating that. And now we have the teams in Freiburg for their specified and specialists on cryptocurrencies and community currencies. And we can get a lot of knowledge from them and all the examples of such currencies. For example, that is in South Korea. They have the biggest basic income project in the world. And this is targeted to young people. People in the age of 25 get for, I think, 1 year, a basic income amount, because the problem is that young people have no money. They get no employment. Korea delivered very brilliant education, but there are no jobs for those people, and there's a huge problem with the young people. And the mayor of Seongnam, so now he's I don't know, president of a district in South Korea, and he implemented that in his district for hundreds of thousands of people, so that they get for 1 year this opportunity to reorganize themselves, to look where they can go, and to start. And this is done by a cryptocurrency. So a complementary cryptocurrency. There are opportunities. So we have to look more in detail. I saw the presentation of them at the last Bien Congress in Hyderabad in India. They has been there and presented what they are doing there. It's a huge project. We can learn from that. and immediately start with it.
Mhm.
Right.
So Diana, I know we talked about it, but
Mhm.
you know, is there interest? I know there's interest, but are we able to start a project in Harlem? What is, you know, for 2021? I know we talked about getting a pilot going. What do we have to do to make that happen? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. It's funny. Eno and I shared some thoughts on this, and we're trying to just create a timeline.
Hmm.
And we would like to do some introductions of what we want to do to some key people who might want to support us.
Okay.
And it begins there, setting a timeline.
Hmm.
Uh, then, writing, well, actually outlining the project, because we
Hmm.
can't go to someone without outlining the project. How many people do we want? Who do we want? And I just thought what I just heard was that there are youth in Korea and they want to do it to the youth. How many people do we have hanging on the streets that could probably use an income? I'm
Hmm.
always thinking, night shift, but some of them are in night shift. If we
Hmm.
can find some that are hanging underneath the scaffolding, perhaps we could grab one or two of them. Maybe one or two elders, one or two those that have are single parents.
Hmm.
You know, I think it's just in the planning, selecting who we want, so that we can present it to whoever we believe would support it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
Well,
think that's really good.
mhm. I no, you know, I don't think it's appropriate to lay out the whole master plan here on the radio show.
But
But
that's just an idea, because
yeah, yeah.
I think that was new, okay? Because I think we talked about something else prior. But the more we talk, the more I'm thinking, where are the needs? Because this really does need to start off as a need base.
Hmm.
But universal is what it says. It's universal. It's
Hmm.
for everyone. But I
Hmm.
believe to start it off, we need to find out who needs it. They would be the best testimony to a
Hmm.
UBI,
Okay.
because
Now,
that's what people look back. Feedback.
Diana, for our listeners and viewers out there that may be interested in helping or have some ideas, would you like me to share my contact information or yours over the air so that they can reach
Hey,
out?
sure, sure.
Okay, well, please, I'm Stu Reid, Stureid at live.com. So write me and let me know however you might be able to help out or chip in with our whole notion of a UBI pilot project in Harlem. That's Stu Reid, Stureid at live.com. And I'll certainly share your information, your contact information with Miss Blackwell, and go forward from there. So we got about 5 minutes left, folks, in the show. Well, what are some of your final thoughts as we go into a brand new year? We've been talking about UBI for almost 2 years now, Diana, on the show, at least a year and a half.
It's a
And
year and a half.
yeah, I know we've got big hopes and big ideas for 2021. But what are some of your thoughts in closing the show?
Well, I think that if we could just introduce this in a very simplistic manner, that people would get a little hunger to know more about it, we would probably just start a wildfire about it. I would like people to just be interested enough just to ask.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things I'm learning. What is the ask? What is the ask? What are we asking? Well, we're asking to have a life that is simple, that will meet our needs no matter what situation comes up, and an additional income, a basic income. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what this is all about, having a
Mm-hmm.
basic income. No matter what comes before us, we'll have our needs met at that time. It may not be um, enough to get all the beautiful things we want, exclusive, but it'll meet our needs, the
Mm-hmm.
basic needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to, make that a little, give that to them as a little enticing thing. Okay.
And
Absolutely.
I just want to reinforce that because Eno has taught me, I'll speak for myself, that UBI really is a floor that enables creativity, that enables people to kind of exhale and relax and breathe and kind of look around and see what maybe some of the other options are for them, just to step off of that treadmill for a moment and maybe make some more creative decisions with their lives. That's what
That's right.
universal basic income does.
Yeah, and it gives you a feeling of appreciation, you know. There's a lack of appreciation for human being. You are never appreciated like a human being. You are appreciated because of your function, because I get something from you. You do things for me. You are capable for that. You are a machine. So we are looking to people like a machine. And we shouldn't wonder why the society is collapsing. We have no idea of human being, and there's nothing in society that says, you know, because you are, because you feel, because you live, because you are like you are, I appreciate you, I value you, so I respect you. This is needed, and that is an unconditional basic income. And those people who argue with such hatred against an unconditional basic income, so they are afraid of being confronted, facing that you are a human being, and that is the biggest value. The biggest value of each of us is that we are human beings. We are individuals. Have a soul. We have a spirit. We have feelings. We have suffer. We have joy. We have hope. We have that. So this is the biggest value. And an unconditional basic income creates a basic in the society, a situation where this appreciation for each other as brother and sister in a way is the basis of the society. And that is a totally different mood and atmosphere than the atmosphere that we have to fight against others to become rich and then to exploit other people. So this egoism ideology is not very helpful. It's not healing. It gives no healing. And the basis of equality, that everybody has the basic income unconditional, gives the basic for a much more vibrant economy, for more competition in a meaningful way, for the better products, for doing better for people, and gives a much more dynamic in society, much more valuable things that will be created. Many things can be abolished because they are no longer needed. You know, if people are working what they don't believe in and without meaning, then they consume what they don't need. There's a compensation between a kind of slavery in work, forced work, and nonsense consumption to compensate that. So to get out of that treadmill, it is important to have a free basis of appreciation of humanity in a society. And I think so. You see, COVID-19 is blocking the people so heavily around the globe and everywhere, and we cannot meet each other. Social relations are hindered, um, but we should not stop doing our steps as citizens, as people of the state. So we should not forget that everything is made by us, and an unconditional basic income is the need of our time now. It would make the society much more resilient against any kind of crises, in particular the current crisis. Society would have money for consumption. It is not everything depending on your employment, the job that is gone now. So we need to rethink society, in particular caused and forced by the crisis we are living in, Corona, COVID-19, but also the political crises and the climate crisis. We have to do these steps, and that's the reason why an unconditional universal basic income is so important, even if we have much more obvious problems, because this is the basis to deal with all the other problems. This makes the people free to do the real necessary things, those things that are really burning, really necessary, and making progress. And like you said, Stu, There's so much creativity in the people. There's so much goodwill in the people. And creativity is not just to paint a picture or something like that. It is how we talk with each other. It is how we deal with our children. It is how we are working together in neighborhoods. It's also to create new politician issues and cultures. So culture in economy, culture in politician, and so on and so on. That is why I think this is a core point of our time.
Well, well said. It is indeed foundational. We've been talking with Enno Schmidt and Diana Blackwell about unconditional or universal basic income, something that these times today are crying out for. So stay tuned for more conversation. Just want to put out my email address again for folks that might want to follow up with us about this. Email is Stu Reid, STUREID, at live.com. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Community and Technology, UBI, with Diana Blackwell, Enno Schmidt, and Stu Reid. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.